stopped at a light, which is Harmon.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped at that light, and when I stopped, I was just checking things out. Then a car rolls up, and I see the chrome wheels. That's what got my attention first, was the chrome wheels. I'm in
Yeah.
the cars, so that was my thing. So that's what caught my attention
Ah,
first.
yeah.
Then I looked up and I saw it was Pac and Suge.
Wow.
And then I looked over at him and I said, "Hey, what up?" And then he kind of like looked, then he recognized me. He's, "Oh,
Ah.
what up, man?" And then, I asked him, say, "Hey, where you guys going?" And he said, "I heard pop, pop, pop.
Oh my
I heard
God.
gunshots."
Mm.
Well, I didn't know there were gunshots. I just heard pop, pop, pop. And then I looked up and I kind of like ducked, because then I really thought, because I saw people kind of running. So
Yeah.
I'm ducking, ducking and looking. And then all of a sudden I see a couple of guys get out the cars that were in front of me, and they
Yeah.
ran to the front. I was like,
Mm.
wow, Tupac died, and I was there. I was, now it's kind of hitting me. I was there, and I was part of this, and it was. I was kind of like, I don't know. I was in a daze for
Mm.
quite a few hours, because it's like, wow. I called the detective on Monday. I
Okay.
said, "Hey, I mean, I know you guys are, probably busy. Tupac died. Just checking on the status of the film." He said, "Yeah, we developed it. We didn't really see anything on there. We'll be sending you your negatives back to you." I said, "All right." So uh, he already had my address. Said, "Do you want it to come to this address?" I said, "Yes." And so they FedExed it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And but at one point that he did say, which kind of still is stuck in my head. He's like, "Don't worry, I'm not gonna mess with your money."
Leonard Jefferson, thank you for being a guest on my podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
And so for everybody listening, you are the person that took the last ever photo of Tupac seen alive. And I found your story really interesting. I've been seeing that photo since I was a kid. So yeah, I've thought of you and I was like, I really would love to grab your story from you personally and listen to everything that you've got to say about the day and how you saw him and everything like that. For everyone listening, can you tell us a little bit about where you're from and how life was for you growing up?
Well, hi, Leonard Jefferson here. I'm from Los Angeles, California, born and raised. Um, I, I mean, I've been in LA all my life. I've experienced a lot of the events that have occurred here in my 50s. So I've experienced a lot. Um, I couldn't see myself living anywhere else. I've lived in New Orleans for a few years, going to school there. Came back. Attended UCLA Film School. I'm still here. Uh,
Amazing. So as a student at UCLA, were you always into music and film growing up? And how did you first come across Tupac initially?
well, as far as I didn't really get into the film industry. I wanted, like maybe in my late 20s, I wanted to, try out the film industry.
Yeah.
And so I enrolled in the UCLA Film School.
Mm-hmm.
And there, so while I was there at UCLA,
Yeah.
John Singleton was filming Higher Learning there.
Oh,
Yeah, so I had a weekend class, and John came into our class, and he picked four of us out of the class,
wow.
and I was one of them. and I got the intern on Higher Learning while they were shooting at UCLA.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and rest in peace, John. John Singleton was, one of our cultural
Definitely legend.
directors that, he had a vision, and, he made sure that we all were able to, be a part of his vision.
Mm-hmm.
And, he supported me, in certain different things that I did, throughout my career.
Wow.
And, he was really my my real first film set that I was able to work on.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I was just excited to be there. And to be honest with you, I worked on the show for about maybe 3 to 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to school for 2 weeks. I didn't go back to school because I felt that I needed to be on set.
Wow.
Be hands-on.
Wow.
And versus I was learning more on set than being in the classroom.
Wow. I've heard many people say that.
So I didn't go back to UCLA. I went back for a couple of weeks, and I didn't go back. I started, doing different projects, doing interns on little shows, and I didn't fully get into what I do, the car industry, doing the cars for the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get into that till about 98.
Wow.
One of our, a friend of mine at the time was Chris Robinson, who's a popular music video director.
Yeah,
I did his first music, not his first, but my first car music video was Keys to the Range. I can't remember the artist, but if you look up Keys to the Range, I had to get like 3 Range Rovers and matching Range Rovers and put some wheels on them.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
That's super cool. And when I read that first initial interview with Complex magazine, can you give us the story of how you first initially came across Tupac?
Oh yeah. So that again, well, Tupac. I didn't meet Tupac while I was at school.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't up at UCLA. I said I was brokering cars.
Yeah.
For different people. So I had a couple of friends that worked at Death Row Records, and I helped a couple of them get cars. And while I was up there delivering the cars, Tupac and some of the artists were at the studio.
Yeah.
And so they introduced me to Tupac. So I met Tupac at Can-Am Studios. Nice. While he was recording.
Yeah.
Had a couple of conversations with him, just about vehicles, but not nothing,
too heavy.
Yeah, and that's how when I took the picture, and then he recognized me. It took him a second to recognize me. So that's how Complex said that I think they said that I met him while I was at school, or he was at the school or something like that. But just to clarify that.
Yes, it's good to be clear.
I met Tupac at Can-Am Studios.
Amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So during your early interactions in September 1996, can you take us all the way back, and how old were you at the time, and what date did you land in Vegas, and what were you there for?
I can't remember how old I was, 96. I got to do the math on that. Give me a second. We'll get back to that.
That's so 96. Funny.
Oh gosh.
It's all good.
Maybe about 30 or so.
Really?
30. I think it was like 30, maybe. I don't know. I have to do the math.
You're so funny. That's fine. Yeah. So what was you in Vegas for initially?
Well, initially I went to Vegas to go to the fight.
Got you. Mike Tyson.
Yeah. A couple friends of ours, we used to go to Vegas for the fights. Nice. And this particular time I drove down there. Normally I fly.
Yeah.
I think I've driven a couple times, but I drove this time, and a friend of mine went with me. Nice. And we were going for the fight. We got there the day of the fight on the 7th.
Oh, got you. You got there on the 7th.
Yeah.
Nice. So on that night, that fateful night of September the 7th, 1996, Can you walk me through like your morning? Like what were you getting up to? What led you to getting into the car that evening and coming to a traffic stop on Harmon Avenue in Vegas?
Yeah, well, we drove down there in maybe late afternoon. It's a like a 3 or 4 hour drive from LA to Vegas.
Got you.
So we got there in the in the evening time, checked into our hotel, changed our clothes, and normally, before the fights, people hang out at the in the lobby area, just to see who's coming,
Yeah.
just checking the sites out. And like so me and my friend, we were there. We were just doing the normal thing and seeing all the celebrities and all the different fight fans coming.
Yeah.
And so people were looking for tickets.
Oh.
And so people kept approaching, hey, you got tickets? You got, and we said, nah, we really didn't want to sell our tickets. But then
Yeah.
this guy from Detroit, hey man, we really need some tickets, trying to get me and my lady in. And we kind of looked at each other, and I said, man, it might be another one of those Tyson quick fights.
Yeah.
Let's
First
just
round.
let's just it's, you think about selling your tickets. So wind up selling our tickets. And I think we paid like $750 each for the tickets, and we sold them like 32 or 3,300 each.
Yeah. Wow.
So we made a pretty good penny off of selling them. So that was incentive enough to get rid of them.
Wow. Like you drove down to Vegas just to see the mic fight and you ended up
Yeah.
selling the tickets. That's crazy.
Yeah. So he and I sold the tickets, but we still stayed there. Was watching people come in and
Yeah.
enjoying that little scene there.
Yeah, before the
And
fight.
then once when the fight started, we our hotel was across the street, so we walked back across the street, and there was supposed to be some type of feed that we were able to watch the fight, but we didn't get to see it.
Oh man.
Yeah, so we just stayed at the crap tables, just hanging out.
Yeah.
And gosh, we wind up, yeah, just hanging out, just walking around, not really doing nothing.
Yeah.
And then the fight was over, so we started seeing people, leaving the MGM. And then, oh gosh, I can't remember exactly what time it was, but I got hungry, and I didn't really want any of the hotel food there, so I decided I wanted to get some CPK, which is California Pizza Kitchen.
Got you.
Yeah, so I called in my order to CPK, and I was my friend, he didn't want anything, so I just went, I just placed the order for myself, and then got in my truck and was on my way there, and I took the little scenic route, because we're right on, I forget the street that the hotel was on, but it's right there on the strip.
Yeah.
So it was still a lot of people, a lot of, I don't know if you've ever been to Vegas, but at night, there's still, Vegas is 24 hours.
Definitely.
So, and it's especially during the fights, there was a lot of people there.
Yeah.
So the streets was, fairly crowded. There was still a lot of pedestrian traffic, a lot of cars. And, so I'm driving, just checking out the scenes, and there was, I just saw people like Tyson, just like, just celebrating basically. Yeah. So, like moving my way through traffic, and I stopped at a light, which is Harmon. I stopped at that light, and when I stopped, I was just checking things out. Then a car rolls up, and I see the chrome wheels. That's what got my attention first, was the chrome wheels. I'm in the cars, so that was my thing. So that's what caught my attention first.
Yeah.
Then I looked up, and I saw it was Pac and Suge.
Wow.
And then I looked over at him and I said, "Hey, what up?" And then he kind of like looked, then he recognized me. He's, "Oh,
Ah.
what up, man?" And then, I asked him, I said, "Hey, where you guys going?" And he said, "We're going to the club." I said, "Oh, cool." And then he said, "You should come." I said, "All right, cool." So then for some reason, to this day, I always say this, I don't know why I asked to take a picture. So
Wow.
I had my camera right on my armrest,
Yeah.
and I just grabbed my camera and said, "Hey man, let me get a picture real quick." And then I just, snapped the picture,
Yeah.
and then the light changed,
Mm.
like maybe within a couple of seconds after I took the picture. And then there was a few other cars that I recognized that was with them
Mhm.
from LA.
Mhm.
That I recognized the cars from LA.
Yeah.
And so I saw them all behind them, so I let them go, and then I kind of like merged in behind them after
Ah.
when they passed, I merged in behind them.
Yeah.
And then we got we drove to the and then while we were doing that, I picked up my phone to call California Pizza Kitchen to
Mhm.
cancel my order.
Ah, because she was going to the club.
Yeah. So I was on the phone. They put me on hold for a second.
Mhm.
Then we got to this. I can't remember. I think it's Koval. We got to Koval. No, is it? No, I'm sorry, Flamingo.
Mhm.
It was Flamingo. Yeah, we got to Flamingo, and we made a right turn.
Yeah.
And then finally they got on the phone. So I'm telling them I'd like to cancel my order. Blah blah blah, whatever. And lady said okay. And while I was still, going through it, I heard pop, pop, pop.
Oh my
I heard
God.
gunshots.
Mm.
Well, I didn't know there were gunshots. I just heard pop, pop, pop. And then I looked up and I kind of like ducked because then I really thought because I saw people kind of running, so
Yeah.
I'm ducking, ducking and looking, and then all of a sudden I see a couple of guys get out the cars that were in front of me, and they
Yeah.
ran to the front.
Mm. Was you
Because
aware at the time that it was them? Did you think it was Park and Shook?
I just saw them run. I just
Mm.
saw the guys that were part of the entourage run forward
Yeah.
towards Tupac and Suge's car,
Yeah.
and then within maybe a few seconds after that, I don't know, maybe 5-10 seconds,
Mhm.
maybe a little longer, I saw Suge and the BMW make a wide U-turn,
Mhm.
going back in the opposite direction from where we were coming.
Yeah.
Then I see the guys, they're running back towards their car. And then one of the guys, I don't know why, he tried to get in my truck,
Wow.
but mine was locked. And then I guess he realized, hey, I'm in the wrong car or whatever. I don't know. He just went to another car.
Mm.
But he was one of the guys. He was part of their entourage.
Yeah.
And so then I just got caught up in the moment, and I made a big wide U-turn with the other cars.
That is so
So now,
crazy.
yeah, it all happened so fast.
Yeah. So when you made the wide turn and you turned back, did you go back to Harmon Avenue? I believe I read.
No, so when we made the U-turn,
Mhm.
that took us back to Las Vegas Boulevard to the strip.
Got it. Got it.
And Suge made a wide left turn
Mhm.
onto the strip. He went up on the curb.
Yeah.
I know you see in the pictures. He went up on the curb, and then when he came down, he had two flat tires. You could kind of see the car, you know, leaning.
Yeah.
And so then he gets back. He's still driving, and he gets back to that intersection of Harmon.
Mhm.
He's making a left turn there. He made the turn.
Mhm.
By the time he got there, there were I was about to say bicycle cops
Yeah.
rolled up, and
Yeah.
so they're standing there, they're looking around, and then they I see them pull out their guns, and there was the Lexus, which later was who was Frank Alexander. That's his security. He was driving that. I was behind that car, and we got into a turning lane.
Mm.
We were in a turning lane, like Suge's car was facing this way, and our
Yeah.
cars were facing this way towards him. We're about maybe 2 or 3 car lengths ahead of us,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're looking around. Well, I'm looking around, and I see the cops telling Suge, get out the car, put your hands up.
Yeah.
And I hear Suge saying, my man pocket shot, my man is shot. So then I see Suge get out of the car, and he gets on the ground, and then after that, all that is happening. A, a cop runs up to me,
Yeah.
pulls a gun on me, a shotgun, and tells me to get out of my car. He's like,
What?
whoa, like, wow, what's going on? And then so he snatched me out the car, put me on the ground, and then um, all the commotion was going. I'm on the ground now. I'm looking, and
Yeah.
I see Suge get up, and he runs around to the side of the passenger side. Now he's
Mm-hmm.
with the cops,
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking at Tupac.
Mm.
And so then what happened after that? Yeah, I just see him. I see them pull Tupac out of the car, and I they started searching me, and harassing me or doing whatever they had to do with me. And I'm telling them I wasn't with them. They say, "Hey, where are you going?" I was like, "Man, I, I just happened to be here." Honestly, I didn't know what was really going on, so I was not really being truthful with them.
Mm.
So I said, "Man, I just pulled up to the light, and I took a picture of him earlier. Hold on a second. And I took a picture of
Ah.
him earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took a picture of him, and then he said, "You're not with them?" I was like, "No, I'm not with them." And so then the cops pulled me up, handcuffed me, sat me up against my truck,
Wow.
and so they questioned me, and I see all the commotion going. I see the ambulance pull up, and then I see them load Tupac into the on the gurney,
Mm.
and put him in the ambulance, and then him and Suge,
My God.
they took off.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the while they're still questioning me. They searching my truck. I had literally just bought the truck like about maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks before, so it wasn't really nothing in there. It was just
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So they were going all through it, looking. They asked me, "Do I have any weapons?" Like, "No, I don't have any weapons." And
Yeah.
so they just went through it.
Yeah.
And so then one of the cops said, "Well, one of our other officers said that they saw your vehicle part of their entourage."
Mm.
Like, well, nah, I saw him earlier, a few minutes earlier, and but I don't, I'm not with him.
Wow.
Like I said, still, I don't know what's really going on.
Mm.
So, I didn't want to get caught up in anything. So
I hear what you're
wasn't that
saying.
wasn't necessarily being truthful at the time.
I hear what you're saying. That's so
Yeah,
crazy. Wow, you've
yeah.
answered so many of my initial questions, and I just wanted to let you talk just to
Oh,
hear
okay.
it from the order that you would tell it. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
When they eventually let you go and they let you go back into your car and they said you were free to go, you went
Yes.
back to the hotel, right? What happened next, and how did the police find you again?
So in the course of them questioning me, I gave them all my information. Like I said, I wasn't necessarily hiding from them or anything, or I
Mm.
don't want to. I was being truthful about where I stayed at.
Yeah.
They asked me where I stayed, so I told them the hotel, and and then they let me go. So
Mm.
I got in my car, and I immediately got on the phone, and I called my friend that works for Death Row, who I
Oh.
knew. So I called her, and I told her, I said, "Hey, Tupac and Suge just got shot." Tupac got, got hit kind of bad from what I heard. And she was like, oh wow, I hung up the phone. So I got back to the hotel, um, and gave my key to valet. Walked back into the casino, and my friend was still there at the same dice table.
Wow.
So I'm talking to him for, I don't know, it was maybe like 5-10 minutes or so, maybe more.
Yeah.
And while I'm talking to him, I get a tap on my shoulder, and I looked around, and it was the same cop that had pulled me out of the car earlier.
Wow.
And he said, Mr. Jefferson, we fucked up. Excuse my language. That's what he said. He said, we fucked up. The detectives want you back on the scene. We shouldn't have let you go. We shouldn't have let you go. I said, oh, well, what else do you need? I gave you all my information. I didn't see anything. He's like, no, well, we want you to come back. And then I said, okay. He said, I'm not under arrest or anything. He's like, no, we just need you to need you back on the scene.
Wow.
And so I asked my partner, I said, hey man, you want to go back with me? He's like, nah, that's all right. I'm cool. I'm gonna stay right here.
Wow.
So the officer said, and he had his partner with him, he said, I see that your truck is still outside. I said, yeah, I valeted. He said, oh, well, it's still parked outside. I said, okay, he must haven't taken it down yet. So he said, you're gonna ride with me, and my partner will drive your truck back to the location because they want to see it. I said, all right, cool. So we walked out the casino. He sat me in. I sat in the front seat of the police car, and the valet. They had to wait for the valet to give him the keys. So then we drove back around the corner to the scene. By now, it was a little more people there. There was a lot more police cars.
Wow.
It was just crowded. It was just a lot of going on. And so we get back there, and then I'm still in the car, so he said, here, wait a few minutes, let me go get the detective, let the detective know I brought you back. So I sat there about maybe 20 minutes or so. Then the detective comes over and introduces himself to me, and he questions me, and he says the same thing. He said one of our officers saw, and this is what he said, there was some officers up in the parking structure that saw your vehicle, part of that entourage, part of the all the cars that were with the BMW. It's like, no, he must be mistaken. Again, I'm not, I'm just like trying to, not trying to be a part of it, because like I said, I didn't do anything wrong, but I just, my instinct just came as like, I don't know. So, excuse me. So he had my card with my information on it, and he said, you live in Los Angeles? I said, yeah. Is this your current address? Yeah. And he said, do you know, he's pointing now to the guys that are sitting on the curb, the outlaws or whatever, and Frank Alexander and the security. He said, do you know of any of these guys here, those guys? And I said, nah, I've met them, I've seen them before in Los Angeles, but I personally don't know them. And he said, well, you sure you weren't part of the entourage? I was like, nah, no. And so then now he walks me over to the medium, to the curb where everyone's sitting, and he sits me down there. And then another detective comes over there, asking me questions, and he's saying, oh, sorry, the cops, they shouldn't have let you go, but we just needed to get everyone here. I'm glad you told them where you were staying. Oh, and I did. I asked the cops, like, man, how did you guys find me? This is initially when he tapped me on my shoulder. And he said, "We're the police." I said, "Okay." But I mean, it's, you know, it was
But yeah,
hundreds of people there in the casino. Like, how all of a sudden within, you know, a few minutes time,
yeah, and
you
that's
come find me? Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah. So, um, so yeah, they, you know, I just sat there on the curb for a little while, and I talked to um, Frank Alexander, who's Pac security,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, "Hey, have you heard anything? You know, how's Tupac and Suge
Mm-hmm.
doing?" And he said, "I don't know. I haven't really heard anything. You know, I'm here just like you." So, you know, we all sitting there just, you know, just going through the motions.
Mm.
And then the detective said, "Hey, the officer said you took a picture of Tupac
Yeah.
right before the shooting." I said, "Yeah." He said, "You still have the camera?" I said, "Yeah, it's in my truck."
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, "Do you mind if we take a look at it?" I was like, "Sure." So we walked back over to my truck.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And you know, I get it. And I had, I don't know, maybe two or three exposures left. I don't know if you know, or if you're old enough to know about film,
A
where
little
the
bit.
cameras, where they had the 35 millimeter cameras,
Mm-hmm.
where that, you know, was film.
Yeah.
So I had a few exposures left, but
Yeah.
conveniently my camera had a automatic rewind. If you didn't take all your exposures, you could rewind it.
Okay.
So I rewound it, um, because what he said, the reason I rewound it was because he asked me, um, "Do you mind if we develop your film? We want to, you know, see what's on there."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I, what I took, I just took one picture." And he
Mm.
said, "Well, you never know, you know, what's in the background. You know, we just want to see." And the ironic thing that, you know, that what happened was where I took the picture is the same place where we came back, where we landed at, the same intersection.
Wow.
So where I took the picture, that same intersection is where we all got jacked up at.
Wow.
Yeah, so I told him, I said, "Hey, I was right there. I pointed where I was at." You know, he had me come, he took me back to where we were.
Mm-hmm.
And the BMW was right here after the shooting, after the police stopped him. And the light was like right here. I guess you have to like see the, you know, go back to the crime scene pictures
Mm.
that, you know, they're all on the internet. But
Wow.
you look, I'm right where I took the picture is like maybe 20, 30 feet away from where the car landed at, where they stopped at.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I walked back over. I said, "Hey, I was right here in this lane. They were in this lane." And, you know, I just snapped a picture.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Did you see anything or see anybody, you know, doing anything?" I was like,
Mm.
"Nah, not that I recall, you know, other than, you know, other cars." And, you know, I saw the Lexus. I saw there was a BMW, a couple other cars. So I just, you know, described those cars.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "You see anybody?" I was like, "No." So then he walked me back over, sat me on the curb, and I stayed there till about maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, still people still milling about. And I think the news cameras were there, and, you know, just other people.
Yeah.
And then finally they like I said, about 4:30, 5 o'clock, they, you know, they said, "You can leave now."
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
So did you end up going to like did you end up going with the police to the station or anything, or just on the curb? Did you
No,
Oh,
they let me go after that. And then the detective gave me his card.
yeah.
Well, I didn't finish though. So I rewind the camera,
Yeah.
rewind the film, took the roll out, gave him the roll,
Mm.
and, you know, he gave me a card, wrote down some information on the back of it, and said we're going to develop it.
Mm.
and he asked me, "Is there anything on here that that you may not want me to see?" I was like, I couldn't remember at the time. It was maybe pictures of my kids or something, or just some random pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, I gave it to him, and you know, and that was it. But like I said,
Mm.
at he let me go, like I said, between 4:30 and 5, and I drove back to the hotel. I called my partner and said, "Hey man, um, I'm going to get on the road."
Yeah.
So I immediately left right after I got back to the hotel, went upstairs, got my bag. My partner, he came down, and we got on the road, drove back to LA.
That is crazy. When you gave
Yeah.
the case the role, I'm not sure. That's the only copy that you had, right? So did you ever feel like he was going to keep it and you wouldn't get to see that photo again?
No, no, no. Well, he told me that once we develop, we'll get your negatives and get your film back to you.
Yeah, because it's important. Yeah.
Well, no, I didn't really know. I didn't know it was going to be the last picture of Tupac, or
Yeah.
and of course I want my pictures back.
Yeah.
Of pictures that I've previously taken.
Mm.
But I didn't think anything of it. I didn't do
Wow.
anything. I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
So,
no. So when you got back to LA, then how did you initially feel, knowing what had happened and that, like, yeah, you said you wasn't like aware that that was the last photo of Tupac at the time. So, but how was you feeling when you, like, when you got back, when you drove back?
well, it was just interesting times because, you know, obviously Tupac was popular. He just signed the death row, and
Mm.
that's all the talk was on the radio, about him being shot, and just I didn't at the time I really didn't feel a particular way. I didn't like just I didn't think that he was gonna die. I
Mm.
didn't that didn't even cross my mind.
Wow.
But just I really can't remember, but I didn't have any particular feelings about it, other
Mm.
than it was just the crazy part, the whole dynamic of the thing, how it all transpired. And
Yeah.
then after I took the picture, you know we travel a short time down the road, and then all of a sudden he gets shot. I did think about that. That flashed through my head a few times, but
Mm.
it at at that time, within a few days, it really didn't affect me. It didn't I didn't feel any certain way.
Wow.
you know but
Wow.
just the whole irony of the thing, of how everything happened. Him telling me, hey, come follow us to the club, and
Yeah.
and me getting behind him, and I don't know. I thought about those things. I did. Those things did flash back.
Mm.
Just the brief, like, few words that we exchanged.
Yeah.
I did think about that.
That is crazy. I
Yeah.
read somewhere that a lot of people were phoning you after you landed back. So did they know that you had this photo? Like, how did they know?
Oh, okay. So the detective said that he would contact me. Um, he did say he was going to contact me about getting my photo back,
Yeah.
get my film back to me. And so what happened? Let me see what that was in. So, oh yeah, so we had a phone conversation, maybe the mid part of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Call him, say, hey, just checking to see how things going. He said, oh, we haven't got around to developing yet, but we're working on it.
Yeah.
And so he said, I'll give you a call on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, like, waited till Friday or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Friday is the day Tupac died.
Oh my God.
He died Friday.
13th. Yeah.
yeah, so I didn't, after that, I didn't, well, I think it was like in the, what time did he die? I'm not really, I think they announced him being dead like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I wasn't even anticipating or thinking about the officer or the detective calling me.
Mm-hmm.
So um, now, fast forwarding to Friday, now I'm really feeling the way. I was like, wow, Tupac died, and I was there. I was, now it's kind of hitting me. I was there, and I was part of this, and it was. I was kind of like, I don't know. I was in a daze for
Mm.
quite a few hours, because it's like, wow, and people that knew me, you know, it was like, how you feel? It was like, man, you all right? Just checking on me.
Mm.
So I didn't talk to the detective until Monday.
Okay.
I called the detective on Monday. I
Okay.
said, hey, I mean, I know you guys are, probably busy. Tupac died. Just checking on the status of the film. He said, yeah, we developed it. We didn't really see anything on there. We'll be sending you your negatives back to you. I said, all right. So uh, he already had my address. Said, do you want it to come to this address? I said, yes. And so they FedExed it to me.
Mm-hmm.
And but at one point that he did say, which kind of still is stuck in my head. He's like, "Don't worry, I'm not gonna mess with your money." I didn't know, I didn't know what he meant by that.
Mm.
And I was like, "What do you mean you're not gonna mess with my money?" He said he didn't. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he just said, "Don't worry, I'm not gonna mess with your money." That's
Wow.
still,
Wow.
still in my head. So then he FedExed it to me. I got it on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so on Wednesday, the FedEx came, and I took it to uh, um, one of the film developers in Beverly Hills. Actually, it was on Beverly Drive. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took it there, and I took it inside, asked him to develop it for me,
Mm-hmm.
and he says it was one of those 1 hour. Um, I don't know if you know that they had like these 1 hour photos where you could get your film developed in an hour.
Yeah.
So I, I left it with them, and I sat in the car. And while I was sitting in the car, my phone was ringing,
Mm.
and I'm seeing these strange numbers. So I'm answering it. It's like, hey, this is such and such calling from wherever. They were calling from Japan, and different like news outlets are calling. It's like, hey, we heard you took the last picture of Tupac. I was like, where'd you get my information from? How did you? That's what I to this day I don't know. Obviously it came from the cops or whatever, but
Wow.
and like I said, I was getting these phone calls, and so they was like, yeah, we want to interview you, and we would like to see the picture, and then I was like, no, I don't. I was really kind
Mm.
of baffled, didn't know what was going on.
Mm.
So after I got the film back, after I got the picture back, I looked at it, I was like, oh, it was the picture that we all see now.
Mm.
And so I contacted an attorney friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not a friend, he was my attorney. And I told him the situation, and he said, well, that's not something I handle, so he in turn put me with an entertainment attorney.
Okay.
So he put me in contact with him, and then his office was in West Hollywood on Sunset.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, well, come up to my office, and uh, we can talk.
Mm-hmm.
So met him at his office that day,
Yeah.
and showed him the picture, and I said, wow, this it's an interesting picture.
Mm.
And I told them, I've been contacted. I don't know how they got my information, but they were calling me from different news outlets, and um, you know, asked me about this photograph and am I part of his entourage or things like that. So so he said next time they call, just give him my phone number.
Okay.
So gave him his number. So um, the attorney is friends with Keith Clinksdale.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, he was the president of Vibe magazine. Are you familiar with Vibe magazine?
Yes.
That's Quincy Jones magazine back then.
Love it. Mm-hmm.
So he contacted Mr. Clinksdale and said, "Hey, I got a client here. Was there when Tupac was shot. He has a picture that he took a picture of him, and people are trying to contact him, and how Mr. Cleansdale got involved was because Quincy Jones owned the magazine, and Kidada Jones
Exactly.
was Tupac's girlfriend at the time. So that's how all that came about.
Yeah.
So he contacted him, and so Keith came up to the office. I mean, he was in town, so he got to the office within like an hour or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there were still news outlets calling, and so the Inquirer called, and their office was down the street from my attorney's office. So he said, this is all the while we're waiting for, I'm sorry, I kind of skipped over something. All the while we're waiting for Keith Clinksdale to arrive, he said, let's go see what the Inquirer's talking about. So the Inquirer office was literally about maybe 4 or 5 minutes down the road on Sunset from my attorney's office. So we go down there and, talk to them and, seeing what they were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were, we said, okay, we'll get back with you. The story that they were talking about putting wasn't really a positive story.
Mm-hmm.
And so get back to the office. Now Keith, he's there waiting for us to get back. And, I show him the picture. He looks at the pictures. He steps out the office. He goes and calls Kidada. He describes everything that Tupac had on.
Wow.
He was just trying to verify and confirm.
Yeah. It was real.
Yeah. So he called her. And then he came back in a few minutes and he said, yeah, that's what she said he had on. And, and so because of the race that my attorney had and Vibe, so I did an exclusive with them.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to have an exclusive with the picture for like the first, maybe I think it was like 30 or 60 days.
Wow.
So Vibe magazine, which I can't remember what issue it was. It was either November. I'm not sure, but that was the first publication of it. And then they did the story, and then us my attorney, he really didn't want to. That was not his forte as far as representing pictures. So we got with a company that represents photos.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, it was called Outline.
Okay.
It was called Outline Press, and they were here in Los Angeles. So we went over there, talked with them, struck a deal with them. They represented the photo from 1996 until fast date. Let me see. They represented the photo until about 2000 and maybe 16.
Wow.
Yeah, they represented it until then.
Wow.
And the only reason was to then, no, I'm sorry, it was like 15, because Bill Gates had a company called Corbis, Corbis.
Mm-hmm.
He bought Outline, so now it's called Corbis Outline.
Got you.
So now it's Corbis Outline, and now Bill Gates sold the company to Getty. So Getty semi-represented now, but I'm with company called Splash. They represent the picture.
Wow. So all this time, like, you've been reimbursed for all of these years of them having your original photo. Is that how it works?
Well, I get it's licensed to the different, to the different news agencies,
Got it.
magazines, newspapers,
Got it.
and and only only reason people know who I am now
Yeah.
because I did. I mean, there are, and me working in the movie industry,
Mm-hmm.
I never really talked about the photo. There's like a select few like directors or friends of mine that know that I took the picture. Like the first video that it was ever used in was a Nas video,
I was about
and
to ask. Yeah.
yeah, I know Benny Boone. Benny Boone's a good friend of mine, and
He's
at
amazing.
the time he didn't know that I took the picture, so they wanted to use it in the video.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I gave it to him. I didn't, I just did something outside of outline. I
Yeah.
just told them that I'm gonna let them, they'll do the paperwork, but I wasn't gonna charge them for it.
How did it feel like holding that secret, being on the video set? That's crazy.
Well, I told them afterwards. I was like,
Okay.
yo, man, I took that picture, right?
What did they say?
And they said, no, man, get the fuck out of here. You didn't take that picture.
That is wild. So regarding
Yeah,
the original print, did you print
yeah.
it for yourself? I mean, do you still have the copy with you and is your camera in storage? That's a
I,
timeless
I
classic.
I still have the camera.
Yeah.
I still have the camera. I still have the negative. The
Yeah.
negative is locked away.
Yeah.
So I still have that.
Yeah. Did you print it for
Um,
yourself? Or just
yeah, I have, I have
yeah.
pictures
Yeah.
of it.
It's so
But
incredible. Thank
yeah,
you for that
and
story.
but I said the only reason people know is
Yeah.
because I did another director that I know
Mm-hmm.
that he didn't know at the time was I'm drawing a blank now. It was an ESPN 30 for 30. It was called One Night in Vegas. They were doing a story on Mike Tyson,
Okay.
and so the director, I knew him from working on a show
Mm-hmm.
with his wife Gina Price, Blythewood. It was Reggie Blythewood.
Mm-hmm.
They directed or Gina directed God, I can't remember. Can't remember the name of the movie. Uh it was a motorcycle movie we did.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't know, and so then I get a call from ESPN saying, "Hey, we're doing a story." They contacted Outline at the time, and they asked them first, "Could we contact him? Can we get his information
Yeah.
about interviewing him?" Interviewing, and I hadn't done the interview. I turned down, like, at the time, I really could have used the money, but at the time, I turned down hundreds of thousands of dollars
How
in
comes?
96, 97, because all that was going on at the time, I didn't really know, and I didn't want to put my face,
Yeah.
out there like that because I didn't know, who was all involved with the shooting, and
Mm.
I definitely didn't want to, think I was involved with it, or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
So I was offered, tens. Each time someone wanted to interview me, they wanted to pay me like $10,000 or more. And
Mm.
I said I turned down hundreds of thousands of dollars because I just,
Wow.
and the money would have been, could have could have
Mm.
used it back then, but my attorney was like, no, let's just, you know,
Later.
yeah, just let the picture speak for itself, and
Yeah.
and so ESPN contacted Outline, said, hey, we'd like to contact the photographer. We like to see if you come in, and we're interviewing different people for the 30 for 30. And I said, so I told them, okay. So they contacted me, and then they said, hey, we want to come in, and Reggie Blythewood is the director. I said, oh, Reggie's directed it. So I said, does he know who that I took the picture? And he didn't know. So
Wow.
when and I didn't say anything to him until I showed up. Until
Yeah.
they wanted me to come into the studio to do the interview. He said,
That
"Man,
is
what are you doing here?" I was like, "Man." So then uh, I did the interview, and then that's how everybody knew who I was, because I
yeah.
wasn't, there was like I would go to Target or go at the time, I always knew when it was airing because people
Yeah.
would recognize me out and about or whatever. But until that 30 for 30, people didn't know who I was. You know,
Wow. Wow.
yes.
That is such an incredible story. Thank you, Leonard. So, what are you up to nowadays? You said that you're working in like music videos and stuff like that. What are you
Yeah,
up to
well, I'm a Teamster in Los Angeles, 399 Teamster.
now? Nice.
Um, I'm a transportation picture car coordinator. So
Nice.
I provide the vehicles that you see on TV.
Okay.
Um, I'm a transportation coordinator. Like when we do TV shows or movies or commercials,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have someone that coordinates everything, that's in
Yeah.
charge of the equipment, hiring the drivers,
Yeah.
getting the equipment to and from set. Um, yeah, and then that's when I'm coordinating that, and then like I said, I do the picture cars. I've
Yeah.
done every music video that you probably could think of, or worked with
What?
every a lot of artists that you may have known, that you
That,
may know.
that's incredible.
Um,
It's amazing that like I can just see the full circle moment of you being so passionate about cars. And then when you
yeah,
initially said that the chrome wheels on Sugar and
yeah,
Park Car, the first thing you noticed, that's really, really incredible. Wow.
yeah,
Man, so I mean, the last photo of Tupac definitely took a life of its own, and it has cemented itself into popular culture forever. Even now in 2020, it means so much to the world. Between having to wait to get your role back from law enforcement at the time, initially being detained after the incident, and then sharing this photo with the world, then coming to the realization that that was the last photo of Tupac ever taken. And my podcast is titled All or Nothing. So, what does it mean to you to truly give your all or nothing? Thinking of all those moments in your life.
well, it's been interesting times,
Mm,
even to this day. I get people on Instagram sending me all kind of messages, asking about the photo, and
yeah,
just, and then the conspiracy theorists, he's
yeah,
still alive, and the pictures are fake, and I was like, I but I don't know, it like you said, it has taken a life of itself,
mhm,
and I don't know, it's been interesting. It's
yeah,
been interesting, just to, I really don't think about it, only if, someone maybe says something to me,
yeah.
but I don't walk around with my chest out. Yeah, I'm the person that took the last picture of Tupac. I don't do that. But
I hear you.
it's interesting. The whole
Yeah,
the whole thing is interesting. And
yeah.
I don't know if you want to go on this, but people say, like, there's stories that they say that the whole night was a setup. And then that I work in the movie industry and I provide vehicles.
Mm,
I work with the stunt people because I do stunt driving as well. So
hmm.
they were like, well, that was a setup. He works in the movie industry. He provides cars. He does the special effects. So the bullets on the car weren't real. The everything was all that's it was a
Wow,
setup. It was I'm part of the setup of Suge. I mean, I'm sorry, of Tupac. He's not dead. He's alive somewhere, and
wow,
and I was
wow.
the interesting part was he says he's in Cuba. So I was in Cuba. I did the cars for Fast and Furious 8, and so we shot in Cuba.
Hmm.
So, so they would say, "Oh, you were in Cuba visiting Tupac.
Wow,
Did you see
wow,
him?" you know,
wow. Yeah, people will say so many things. Wow, it's like
yeah,
everyone's got their own
yeah,
story.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh man.
but yeah, just all or nothing. Just I can't really put it in words, but the whole thing just it kind of has like the own life of its own, but It, I don't know. I really can't answer to it, but it's an interesting feeling that I have
Yeah.
sometimes, you know.
Yeah. I'll take
But
that. I'll take that. It's very,
yeah,
yeah. It's very hard to like verbalize how you must be feeling. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Wow. Thank you so much for your time, Leonard. I appreciate your story. Like I said, that picture has like rung in my head and like, you know, my visualization since I was a child, seeing that, loving Tupac, adoring his music, him being one of my
yeah,
heroes.
yeah,
So yeah, it's really crazy, that story, but it's a very significant part of popular culture. And I appreciate your time today and you giving me
yeah.
your story. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank
Bye.
you, Leonard. Take care.
Bye. All right.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.